Good morning. I just woke up, obviously, and I thought I'd get the day started right and do my stretches. What I do, I mentioned before, it's kind of how I like to start my day. I don't always start the day like this. I am not perfect about starting the day like this again, but this is kind of a real quick run through of what I do just to kind of get the blood flowing and get myself working. Well, first thing I do is I drink a big thing of water, because that's pretty well known as being a very important thing to do first thing in the morning, because you're really dehydrated after you wake up or sleep. And then I grab this little ball. This is a hard little rubber ball. I don't know what you call it, but what I do is I roll it under my feet, and I started this video once, and I turned it off accidentally, so this is actually my second run through, but I'll show you that I put the ball on the ground, obviously. Can you see that? There it is. I don't know if you can see that, but I step on it, and I step on it with my inside of my foot, and I just roll it from ball to heel a couple times. And again, what this does is this opens up the fascia, or wakes up the fascia, which are like the little connective tissue between the muscle tendons, to really get blood flowing in your foot. It helps you stand properly and correctly, and you can feel it. It feels like a little cracking in your foot. It's something I never did before until a couple months ago when my friend told me I should. And basically, again, it helps you stand more correctly, and it distributes the weight more evenly on your foot. When I first started doing this, I couldn't even stand on one leg for that matter, so it was kind of a struggle to go back and forth like this. And so again, I roll it under the inside of my foot, and then I move it under my ball of my foot. I think that's what you call that. I roll it under the ball of my foot, back and forth like that, and then along the outer edge of my foot, because I want to get the whole foot, and I do it kind of systematically. This also is really good to work on your core stabilization, because again, like I said, when I first started doing this, I couldn't even stand on one leg for very long, and I would have to balance and shake. But you develop little stabilizer muscles in your legs, and that's, super helpful and super important. The reason why I started doing this was because I had really poor hip flexibility and ankle flexibility, and I'm gonna get into that later. But it starts with your feet. It starts where you stand. If you're lucky enough to be able to stand and be able to walk, and this is kind of, I think, the best way to start your day. You gotta start down there and work your way up, or at least that's kind of my resounding theory in doing this. And so yeah, I don't do it for very long. The person who showed me did it for at least 2 minutes on each foot, and so it actually becomes like a really long workout almost, because you're really, at the end of it, you're really using a lot of your strength for your stabilized muscles and for your core muscles. But I don't do it that long, not always. I basically am just trying to wake myself up. And so then there's that. I'm done with that. That's easy. Nice. And then the next thing I do is I have this little ledge. My apartment has a little brick ledge. It's not very tall. You can also use yoga mats or yoga blocks. And I just put the front of my foot on there, and I bend forward, and I kind of focus on the weight distribution. I try to sit flatly and plainly, and not to one side or the other on my foot. And I kind of just push forward. This has actually been a lot of progress from where I was before. And again, it's good for ankle mobility and ankle flexibility, which translates later into being able to go into like a full squat, which is one of the reasons why I started doing this. But also I just realized I had really poor ankle mobility. I noticed that like athletes, one of the things that they don't to you when you're doing like workout videos for squats and stuff, is that they'll just go into like a full ass squat and they won't say anything like, you know, talk about form and where your legs and your hips should be. But they don't say anything about your damn feet and your ankles. And that's kind of like the hidden the hidden part that's kind of one of the most important parts to be able to do this effectively. And so transversely, the next thing I do is I sit like this. So you can see I'm trying to flex my ankles the other way, and this is actually really uncomfortable for me. It's kind of like well known that you push yourself with these kinds of stretches, but you don't push yourself. If you're hurting yourself, like fucking stop. So you can do things like put something under your butt right there and sit on it, or support yourself with your weight, with your arms like I'm doing now. And again, I don't do this for very long, but I'm basically just trying to get that a little bit more loose, get that a little bit more flexible. And so I'll count to like 30 or something. Sometimes, most of the time. Again, I'm not perfect about this. I don't do this every morning. I'm not that obsessive about it, but doing these videos has been kind of helpful in motivating me to be more consistent with what I'm trying to do, because consistency with, you know, recovery, consistency with improvement, consistency with just making your life work is a key aspect that we all can work on better. And routine and consistency and discipline has helped me a lot through the stresses of being in fucking COVID. Ouch, ouch, ouch. So yeah, that does hurt. It doesn't feel great, but it does feel great. And then the next thing I do, is still working along that train, is I kind of sit in a doorway and I go into a squat, and this is where the ankles flexibility really helps. You can't really see, I'm actually grabbing a door frame right now. And what I've learned is that people talk about leg placement and hip placement when doing squats. The reality is that there's no right way for any one way to do it, or one placement. The right way is the way that your body mechanically feels comfortable doing it. So at first, I use the door frame as a support, but then after, I can actually sit in it for a little while. And again, I don't do this for very long, but if I can get myself to sit in it for a little while, I consider that a success. And this was a long process to be able to get me to go down this low. So you're getting a glimpse after I've already been doing this for a couple months now. But again, I wasn't able to do this at all just a couple months ago. So it's been really helpful and beneficial, both for being able to kind of make my legs stronger, and then also just not feeling like an old creaky like metal tin man, so to speak. So then the next thing I do is, you know, I might stretch. Oh, that feels good. Feels super good. Stretch my legs out. And then I mentioned in the video before, I stress my transverse abdominis. But the first thing I do, and let me see if I can get this aligned right, is that I'll go down. Oh, the floor's cold. I go down on my back and I arch my back up like this, and then I kind of tuck my shoulders underneath myself and clasp my hands. You can't really see, but I press like that, and then I'm on my feet, obviously, or maybe not obviously. I'm on my feet. And I just hold that for a little while and really push through the hips and feel it in my quads. And then I roll over. And this is that part. This is really good for your spine and your back. And just gonna hold it, stretch like you're raising your hand in class, which is something I didn't do that fucking often. Oh. Stretch. I don't know. Again, I probably should do this for much longer, but I don't. I just do enough of what's good. And then I tuck my back up and roll. This was always kind of hard for me too. Roll back and forth. Just do what feels good. You know, I have hardwood floors. I would recommend that just because that extra, well, I don't know, force, extra density that you get, the lack of the cushion feels really good in your muscles. And then now that that's all curled up, oh, I will just stretch like that too. The old cobra stretch. So this is kind of a very dummy's guide to a yoga, I guess. I've taken yoga with friends, with girlfriends before. I don't know much about it. I do know a lot about my body, and I know it feels good, and I kind of know what I'm supposed to do. Just to kind of wake it up, but a lot of you guys just do yoga, and I'm sure that's tremendously fucking better for you. But if you don't do yoga, then these are just kind of like simple stretches that you can do in the meantime. Yeah, and so that took, what, 12 minutes? It's usually how I start my day. I think one of the kind of the important things that you can take away from this is that to do good things doesn't really take as long as you think it would take. But the reward that you get is really, really long lasting. And I also feel like people talk about how they don't have enough time in their day. But in reality, we have a lot of time. We just don't use it very well. And time is the most important thing that we have. It's the most valuable thing that we have. It has, you know, almost potentially limitless, infinite uses. But it's also something that we can't help but spend. So I would just implore you to try to spend your time better, especially presumably you having a lot more free time. So that's all. Good morning. I hope everybody has a good morning and good afternoon and good night. I'm hopefully going to get a workout in today and not drink too much coffee. But we'll see how that goes. It went so fucking well yesterday. Yeah. Bye-bye.